I do disagree with Ben Shapiro on one thing regarding his piece at nationalreview.com yesterday, and that is that conservatism has not transformed into Trumpism. It's more that Trumpism has purged conservatism from the Republican Party. But it is sad and ugly. I mean, you could say that the Republican Party's sad and ugly transformation into Trumpism has been just a nightmare. But if elected, Trump would destroy the Republican Party, the only solution to our country's woes. That much, yeah, we do agree on, young Mr. Shapiro and myself. I mean, you can put it or start it this way. Another week, another Donald being Donald moment. For many years in baseball, Indians, Red Sox, and Dodgers outfielder Manny Ramirez became a running joke in the fan community. That wasn't because he couldn't hit. He was a tremendous hitter. It's because Ramirez was a kook. He'd throw to the wrong base, then shrug awkwardly. He'd take a stroll into the green monster, then fail to reemerge even as the game continued. He'd steal second base, then get confused and wander back toward first base before being thrown out. Actually, going backwards in the base path is an automatic out. You get back to the preceding base. These moments became known as Manny being Manny moments. If you want the good, they came along with some of the bad. Donald Trump is the same way, except there is no good. Every few days, Trump does something so inexplicable, so morally and politically reprehensible, that conservatives who should know better end up stunned. The difference between Trump and Ramirez is that Ramirez's job was to hit a baseball. Trump's job is to not have these moments. Imagine if Ramirez had batted 190. It would have been difficult to laugh off Manny being Manny. Trump doesn't even bat 190. He's the 2013 Dan Ugla of politics. And yet Trump keeps having these Donald being Donald moments because he's not capable of being anybody else. And we're supposed to just keep laughing them off. The latest, this week, Trump attacked a Gold Star family by saying of the mother of a slain soldier, quote, maybe she wasn't allowed to have anything to say, presumably thanks to her religion. She's Muslim, of course, which is probably true. He also attacked not one but two fire marshals and said that Vladimir Putin had not invaded Ukraine, which is just counterfactual. Trump simply can't stop himself. This is who and what he is. This was eminently predictable from day one, June 15th, 2015. What you see with Donald Trump is what you get, and what you see is not anything you want anywhere near the Oval Office. And yet, which leaves Republicans in an awkward position, and a self-inflicted one. It's been pointed out many times how the rest of the candidates in the field never focused on Trump. They spent all their time beating each other up. And then the party could have stepped in. And then at the convention, Trump could have been dethroned. Nobody bothered. And which I predicted, by the way. I said, don't expect any magic, last minute saves or anybody coming to their senses or anybody having the courage to stand up to Trump. The Republican Party, I've said it for years now, is a conventionalist party. They are not counter-revolutionaries. You're never going to see pitched battles on behalf of conservatism anywhere in the Republican Party. They're the party of conservatism, but they're not going to go that extra mile. They're not going to fight. And they wouldn't even fight against the hostile takeover of their party. After the respective party conventions, Trump is the only viable electoral alternative to Democrat-lying Herod and Hillary Clinton, the most corrupt major party nominee in modern American history, next to Trump. And yet Trump is so wildly unpalatable as a presidential candidate by any normal conservative or rational standard that many conservatives find themselves unable to vote for him. Those are the conservatives who haven't thrown away their principles and their sanity. These conservatives are now under heavy pressure to pull the lever for Trump. Yeah, well, that's what I say to that. There are two main arguments advanced by Trump voters. First, that Trump will be better than Hillary Clinton, of which there's no grounds to believe. There's no evidence, no proof of that, and plenty of proof to the contrary. And second, that anyone who refuses to vote for Trump bears moral responsibility for Hillary Clinton's subsequent presidency. In other words, on the one hand, never Trump is insignificant and small and irrelevant, but on the other hand, this insignificant, small, tiny, irrelevant remnant is somehow going to be responsible for Hillary Clinton being president. Those two don't add up, ladies and gentlemen, at all. I mean, you talk about cognitive dissonance. That's just plain idiocy, is what it is. The first argument seems deceptively simple. There are two candidates, and Trump will not be as awful a president as Hillary, well, except he will be, would be. We know Hillary will be a terrible, hardcore, ideological leftist. There's probably a 75% chance that Trump would go. No, actually, We know Hillary will be a terrible, hardcore, ideological leftist. We know that Trump will be a terrible, hardcore, ideological leftist, only under the Republican banner. If the enemy is going to be president, if the enemy is going to be in the White House, I want a D after their name. You remember Helmut Zemo's line from Captain America Civil War at the end? An empire that is conquered by its enemies can rise again. An empire that falls from within, that's dead forever. I mean, Trump will do things so catastrophically awful that he would seriously harm the country in ways Hillary couldn't even dream of. His trade policy alone would permanentize even. You know, I never even gave any thought to whether Barack Obama, who gave us and kept in place the Second Great Depression, could. The idea that anybody could make it that worse, I got to admit, never even entered my mind. It wasn't conceivable. How could that possibly happen? Well, now we know. Trumpnomics, multiple trade wars, destroy the global economy and therefore the American economy. You think we're in an economic depression now? Just let Trump win the election. His foreign policy is made in Moscow. Any talk of him listening to advisors must be based on fantasy. So far, Trump hasn't just been a bull in a china shop, he's been a tank in a glass factory. Any attempts to rein in Trump, and remember, that was one of his selling points, nobody controls Trump. How's that working out for you, Trumplicans? Any attempts to rein in Trump have failed miserably. His supposed commitment to appoint a Supreme Court justice in the mold of Justice Scalia means nothing. He knows nothing about the Constitution. What he does know isn't so, and he's not going to stake political capital in a losing fight against a Democrat filibuster. And besides, he just can't wait to nominate his pro-abortion or partial birth abortion zealot sister, Mary Trump Berry. Boy, to you people are, if you get everything that you think you want, you are going to just get so unpleasantly surprised. Although you people have sold out to Trump to such an extent that anything he does, you're going to cheer. I mean, that's been the story of the past 13 and a half months, hasn't it? Trump will appoint his partial birth abortion zealot sister. Nobody palatable to conservatives. Even if he did, it would get shot down by Democrats, and then he'd come back with a stealth candidate who turns out to be a David Souter or an Anthony Kennedy or a Sandra Day O'Connor. He'll make a great deal, but with the Democrats, not the Republicans. He already conquered the Republicans. Why would he care about anything Republicans thought? He's already beaten them. He'll make deals with Democrats because he's a Democrat himself. I mean, Trump is a man who says openly he wouldn't mind much losing the Republican Senate majority. Rather odd sentiment coming from the presidential candidate of that same party. But let's even grant that governing in a superior fashion to Hillary Clinton is a low bar and Trump is likely to surpass it, which he won't. He wouldn't. I make no such concession, but just for the sake of argument, a hypothetical pondering, let's just assume for a minute that governing in a superior fashion to Hillary Clinton is a low bar and Trump surpasses it. That brings us to the real reason to oppose Trump's candidacy, or an additional one. The attempt to turn the conservative movement into a national socialist one, complete with shilling for Trump's incomprehensible decisions and statements. If you believe that the only solution to America's problems is true conservatism, your greatest fear is not a Hillary Clinton presidency. It's the perversion of the conservative movement itself. The corruption of conservatism in favor of power and its transmogrification into another wing of leftism. Hillary Clinton's presidency does not snuff out conservatism, even though it provides a serious danger to the republic. Trump's, a trumpetancy does both. Why? Because conservatives are already former conservatives are already tailoring their morality, decency, and political sense to fit Trumpism. In other words, they're jettisoning their morality, decency, credibility, and political sense and principles. We've already seen supposed conservative thought leaders go silent when Trump does something unthinkable. We've already seen Chris Shoeshine Christie and Reince, the enforcer Priebus, and Newt Dude who stole my VP slot, Gingrich, embrace the Trump or bust logic that puts conservatism under the wheels of the Trump train. And that's to be expected. But I've watched conservatives I respect, or former conservatives I used to respect, justifying Trump's latest moral and political atrocities with alacrity. They downplay his enormous heresies and his moral failings. Because after all, Hillary Clinton! In short, too many ex-conservatives seem perfectly willing not only to pull the lever for Trump, but to lie for him as well because they've joined the cult, they've drunk the Kool-Aid. To justify his foolishness and ignorance and instability and overall insanity, for any of those who do still have a hint of a conscience, they just focus on depicting Hillary to ridiculous caricatures of utter evil that really aren't necessary. I mean, Hillary is who Hillary is. We know who Hillary is. Her presidency would be Obama's third term. Why is that not enough? But then if you really, if Trumplicans feared Hillary Clinton, why did they nominate Donald Trump? That's another question they can't answer. They don't dare answer it. That's why the second justification for voting for Trump, that if you don't vote for Trump, you'll be responsible for Hillary's presidency, destroys the first rationale. It suggests that anything that harms Trump, including honesty, must be morally deficient. And that takes us in a Democrat left-wing cultural direction. Now, Ace of Spades, I used to love Ace of Spades before he lost his mind and became a Trumplican. He put it this way on his website recently, quote, "Either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton will be president in November. If you think Hillary would be a better president, or if Trump is so repulsive to you that you cannot support him, even if you think Hillary would be worse, they're both equally awful. Fine, I respect your opinion." No, you don't, Ace. Trust me. I know you. Trump supporters will own the consequences of a Trump presidency, and Hillary supporters, both those who declare it proudly and those who wish it secretly, which doesn't include never Trump, own the consequences of a Hillary presidency. Adults accept the consequences of their choices. Close quote. This is bullshit. Conservatives do not owe their vote to anyone. But more important, my vote simply isn't that important. That's a point that I made, well, I think it was probably the last point I made on Constitution Radio, which is that I live in the state of Washington. Hillary Clinton is going to carry this state by at least 10 percentage points. So if I held my nose, ripped my nose off my face and voted for Trump, sold out everything I believe in and voted for Trump, it wouldn't prevent Hillary from carrying the state of Washington. And Mr. Douglas V. Gibbs and Alex Ferguson, they're voting for Trump. Is that going to prevent Hillary Clinton from carrying California by 20 percentage points? No. So they are literally selling out their principles as a practical matter. Not even in terms of principle and commitment and ideology and philosophy. As a practical matter, they are selling out everything they believe in for nothing. Because their votes are not going to prevent, for Trump, are not going to prevent Hillary Clinton from carrying California. And I pointed this out to many a Trumplican, and they don't respond. They just sneer. I mean, trying to debate Trumplicans is pointless, and fruitless, is trying to debate the left has been for over 20 years, because they don't engage you because they can't. They have no substantive arguments in favor of their point of view. Their point of view is fundamentally irrational and illogical and malevolent. And so all they do is sneer and call you names. You know, that's why I tired of the message boards, online political debate message boards. That's why I went into blogging. It's just, there was no challenge. It was just talking past one another. You lay out all your arguments, and they're airtight and they're well thought out, and they just ridicule you and call you names and sneer at you. I mean, there was just nothing to engage, and it's the same thing with Trumplicans. We are right, they are wrong, they know it, but they won't admit it. They drunk the Kool-Aid, and they're as bad as the left. Trumplicans are as bad as the left. You know, which makes my friend Douglas V. Gibbs selling out to Donald Trump just all the more shocking and depressing. Because here is Mr. Constitution. Here is the Constitution guy, constitutional originalist par excellence, selling out to a candidate who is more anti-constitutional than even Barack Obama. It's amazing. It's absolutely, utterly flabbergasting. And yet those of us who won't vote for Trump keep hearing that constant refrain. Your vote means everything. But which is it? Are we a small, teeny, tiny, irrelevant, nobody cares about remnant? Or are we the difference in stopping Hillary? It can't be both. It can't be both. Pick one and stick to it. But it can't be both. Today, once again, Trump trotted out that tortured logic. Your vote means everything. To attack not Hillary Clinton, not Tim Kaine, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is no longer running for anything, yet here's Trump attacking Ted Cruz. Why? Because of his butthurt over Cruz not submitting, not bending the knee, not unzipping Trump's fly, not joining the Donald Trump Kiss My Ass Club. Because Trump is about Trump, and everything has to be about Trump, and he takes his victory in November for granted, and there's absolutely no evidence for it whatsoever. So what does he do? Does Trump attack Hillary Clinton? Nope. Attacks Ted Cruz, the real enemy, who committed the grave sin of not explicitly sucking Trump's cock while doing everything short of giving such an endorsement at the Trumpvention. What Trump supporters really mean when they say that failure to vote for Trump is a vote for Hillary is that anything we do that doesn't help Trump harms him. Like we're obligated to help somebody we oppose. In other words, we are only morally decent if we turn into full-scale Trumplicans. Oh, the irony of that statement. It's no longer sufficient to call things as we see them. We must assimilate. And notice Trump has done nothing to reach out to us. Absolutely nothing. That's what candidates tend to do. They conciliate. They reach out. They meet those who oppose them in the primary halfway. Did Trump or his train do any such thing? No. You must submit. Bow down. You have no choice. Bow down or else. That's what I think of that. If we point out that Trump's attack on the Khan family is stupid and morally debased, that puts us in league with Hillary somehow. If we state that Trump ought to spend less time cozying up to Vladimir Putin or other more unsavory things, and more time standing up to him, that means we're Clintonoids somehow. Can you picture that? Hillary Clinton has been in Putin's back pocket. She was in Putin's back pocket for her entire tenure as Commissar of State. Trump does the exact same thing, and if we criticize that just as we criticized Hillary for it, suddenly we're Clintonoids. How does that work? That's why the term logic doesn't even belong in this vicinity. I mean, this is the danger, folks, and it's becoming reality right now. The moral framework of conservatism is based on honesty and decency and rationality and fact. Trump is dishonest and indecent. Barack Obama has taken America toward a cliff at 100 miles per hour. He's taken America off the cliff, but I digress. Now we're plummeting at terminal velocity toward the rocks below. Hillary Clinton will press the accelerator further, and so will Trump. The difference between the two, the one and only difference, Trump will force his conservative passengers to rip out the reverse gear. Remember Professor Buckley and his, there's no reverse gear. Well, there's no reverse gear here either, in order to justify him. Conservatism will become Trumpism. Conservatives will prioritize, actually they're prioritizing defeat over truth. See, that's part of the myth. Prioritizing winning over truth, but Trump can't win. Trump can't win. Trump won't win. Trump is not capable of winning. This whole thing is the proverbial selling the cows for 3 magic beans that will not turn into a beanstalk. The whole thing is the biggest, most easily anticipated and resisted fraud that I think I may have ever seen in my entire adult life, and yet here we are. Cultism, just like it took over the Democrat Party 8 years ago. Now here it is, invading the Republican Party and guaranteeing a third Obama term. That's why I have no interaction. I will have nothing to do with it. The Republican Party left me. When Douglas V. Gibbs sold out to Trump, I was out the door. Out the door, because I will not have anything to do with that. My principles still matter to me. They don't matter to Mr. Gibbs, obviously, but they matter to me. Imagine that. I am a more staunch constitutional originalist than Douglas V. Gibbs. Call him as I see him. I mean, no other Republican candidate has asked so much. We could support Mitt Romney and still call him out on his flaws. Hell, I voted for Romney even after writing a column in January 2012 titled No on Mitt Romney, in which I said that conservatives should not justify Romney care just to get Romney elected. We could slam John McCain for campaign finance reform and still vote for him. But Trump demands something more. Your political soul. And he can't have mine. I mean, political flaws existed in McCain and Romney, to be sure, but Trump is one gigantic flaw. It's easier to name Trump's non-leftist positions, of which there aren't any, than his leftist ones, because he's more leftist than not. He's totally leftist. It's easier to name his personal qualities than to describe his moral shortcomings, since the former are few and the latter are nearly infinite. And Trump supporters expect everyone to get on that train? Human beings have a rough time with cognitive dissonance. The possibility of voting for Trump while also speaking honestly about him is too much of a burden for any true, sane, rational conservative. The conservatives had better get comfortable with such dissonance, or dump Trump. If they embrace him, his stink will be on them and the conservative movement for generations to come.